We talked about E3 last week, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about how they were going to, make this all digital and whatnot, but it didn't sound like a very good package. It sounded like a mediocre package, kind of like most white men. And Reggie came out and said, hey, I also think it's pretty mediocre, and it could be a lot better. And he had some ideas. He didn't just say it was mediocre and walked on. He actually had some ideas. So Reggie wasn't too pleased with it. In fact, he didn't feel it was compelling is more of the direct word. He said he believes that going digital is obviously the best move, but he wants to see them take steps to figure out how to have people at home experience playing the games like they would if they were at the show floor in an in-person E3. Because he said that right there is the perhaps most important aspect of E3 is playing the games that haven't come out yet. If you're just going to show off a bunch of trailers and shit, great, but the real core of it is being able to get your hands on these games coming out. That's where the magic is. And he had some closing thoughts here too that I wanted to bring up. Let me see here. Down here, I will accept your cookies. Yes, if you get that notification off my screen. Yes, so he said, having said that, the platform holders need to find a way to digitally enable their fans to experience the content. He said that's key for E3, the ability to be playing The Last of Us Part 3 for the first time, or to play that next Breath of the Wild game for the first time, or to play that next great game coming from the new amalgamation of all the great Xbox studios, to play for the first time is what's magical. What I've read, as I've said, doesn't go down that path. If you don't have all of these different elements working together, the big announcements, the hands-on, the opportunity in a well-defined time frame to have all these announcements, that's what's key to a successful E3 in the future. And they said, candidly, if the ESA doesn't do it, then other people will. So, he's just bringing the facts. If E3 doesn't do it, that last statement is the most important thing that he said there in that entire thing.
Yep.
If he doesn't, or if they don't do it, somebody else is going to step up and fill that role. What do you think, Mr. Bly?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I don't know what he totally means by, like, does he mean
I think the hands-on stuff and, like, the not just showing trailers and shit, but actually, like, getting people involved, even if it is a digital show.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think when he means that is maybe he means, Nintendo, Xbox, Sony will do it themselves. I don't think that there's going to be another company or whatever that's going to come out and do what E3 does. It's a dying model. But these companies will do their own thing. They'll host their own events. They'll have fans be able to come in, play the games, whatever, and do their own shows. That is 100%.
Do you think demos, because we can't do in-person events now, and I mean, I guess if we're really lucky, the earliest would be next year if, like, everything went, and let's be honest, it's probably not going to go that well, but let's say it did. Either way, do you think that a lot of thank you, love, I've already had some, but thank you. If demos make a bit of a comeback, because demos used to be like hot shit in gaming, right? Like, everyone used to release a demo. You'd be able to play like the first level in a game, or maybe there was like a small chunk of the multiplayer that you could get in. If you used to buy the magazines that have the demo discs where you'd have like a whole slew of like whatever was coming up, or sometimes even if you bought a game, they'd have like, as an incentive for another part of that franchise or a similar game from the same studio, you'd have a demo of some like off in the future game. And then that went away eventually, and now there's less and less demos. There are still some that come up, but maybe that's the answer. If he's saying that we get, that he thinks that an integral part of this kind of E3, whether it's E3 that does it, or let's say the summer game stuff that Jeff Keighley is doing now as of last year, maybe companies have to, if they want to get people engaged more than just watching a trailer, maybe demos do start to to slowly come back. I mean, we're in an almost entirely digital landscape at this point anyway.
Yeah, you can just make a digital demo.
This is way more accessible now than it would have been back in the day. I mean, think about printing fucking discs versus just putting out a demo, right?
Yeah.
I'd be for. What about? Are you down for like the return of demos, like getting some demos back, so that you can like? Because think of the other aspect of this, not just for E3. And I know you don't buy a lot of new games these days because you're doing your basically just your RP stuff. But if you were buying games, and games have gotten so fucking expensive now, wouldn't it be kind of nice to be able to just have a demo of these games now? Because they're like $90 fucking. To be able to play a demo of something, to even get a monicum of an idea as to whether or not this is something that you want to play, without having to rely on like Steam's return policy or Epic's nearly non-existent return policy, etc., etc. And God forbid you bought physical, right? Because then like it's even harder to try and pull that off. So, you know, I know for me, I buy more games. I would like to see that, just for that reason. They're so fucking expensive.
I mean, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. The couple issues. I don't think it's the fact that they don't want to put demos out, but there's a reason why they don't put out demos. Is they don't want people playing their shitty games. You know, that's
E3,
true. E3 has all become part of, let's go ahead and create a demo, and we pretend and act on stage that we are surprised with the events that are happening, and they're basically playing a very well thought out. You know,
Anthem did it where it was basically completely made up. Cyberpunk did it. That was entirely fucking made up, right?
Exactly. So the issue is you know, they want just like a trailer, they want you to experience something in a certain way, thinking, and it's engineered in a way to make you want to buy the game. If you go and play the game, it's like saying, hey, you know, there's a movie trailer, but instead of the movie trailer, why don't we do what Christopher Nolan did for several of his movies and play the first 4 minutes, 6 minutes, 9 minutes of the movie before another movie? You only do that because you're extremely confident that you have something there that people are going to go, oh my God. Like that, just a trailer isn't enough. Trailer will pique your interest, but then here, take an actual piece of the content that is already made, consume it as a tease, and we're going to finally sell you on this. Problem is, man, video games, they just, a lot of these AAA titles, they're frauds. It's like you're being sold the Star Citizen dream. You know, you're getting sold on an experience that really doesn't exist. It does, but it's such a hollow, shallow. When you get the end product, it's not even a fraction of what you envisioned. You know, or they show you something at E3 and it's this amazing sequence and they're using all the different weapons and tools that your character has. And when it looks all together, it just looks like, oh my God, this is just 5 minutes. I can't believe what 9 hours of this will look like. But you just got the best 5 minutes. And you're realizing that the other 8 hours and 55 minutes is mediocre at best. And that's why you're not getting demos. It's super easy for somebody to go and put a demo on the PlayStation Online store that everybody can play. It's like, hey guys, you really want to try out this remake of this game? Well, hey, guess what? You can go and play the first 15 minutes right now. We want you guys to try it. But they don't want people to play their game because they're going to go, no, that ain't it. That ain't it for me.
How crazy is it that we're at a point right now in gaming that massive AAA titles could put out a demo on launch day? So not before, like not months before, but launch day. And it would still be a detriment to sales.
Yes.
What does that say about where we're at with AAA and God forbid the upcoming whatever the fuck quadruple A is going to mean? what does that say? Because if you can't even have somebody play the best slice of your game on launch day and have that be a sales pitch instead of the opposite,
Yeah.
what does it tell you? It tells you they're releasing completely uncompleted games that they then bank on you buying on hype, holding on to because you've already made the purchase and have the glimmer of hope to not return it so that they can spend the next 2 to 6 months making the game playable or closer to the actual experience that they were supposed to have initially. And in some cases, that never even happens. And the dream never happens. You get like only a portion of the way there. And so how crazy is it that that's the way it is? Imagine, not that it would ever happen, but imagine a world where because of the expense of a game, a platform like Steam made it mandatory to provide a demo on launch day to users. Because let's say, like, and I know again it's never going to happen, but let me, from Steam's perspective, they obviously they make money too because they make % of whatever the fuck is sold on the platform. But let's say that the returns for games and paying for support staff to be dealing with returns all the time and whatnot was outweighing benefits, and so they said, hey, you got to have a fucking demo on launch day.
And then they're going to say, hey, fuck Steam. That's what they're going to say.
Yeah, no, I know, but I meant like in a what would be intriguing if it was mandatory to have that would be how much better do games get? Does that result in them going for a smaller scope so that they don't blow the shit out the water like Cyberpunk, for example?
Yeah. Well, even Cyber. Here's the reason why they're allowing you to play these demos at E3 is because it's a very small amount of people that are playing the game, and they're all on the fucking Kool-Aid. All of them. They're all on the Kool-Aid. I mean, listen, you go to you go to a concert and you might not even really like the type of music, but you go to a concert and the energy and it's like
the atmosphere gets you.
The atmosphere, right? It's you're on the Kool-Aid, you're on the sauce.
I'm at a Taylor Swift concert and I'm not really feeling it, but at the same time, all the screaming fans everywhere screaming Tay-Tay. Eventually, I'm screaming Tay-Tay.
Exactly, right? You watch like Star Wars Episode 8, and you hate it, and then you sit in a room with a bajillion people that are like, yeah, Star Wars Episode 8 is a fucking awesome. You might leave there going, you know what? There might have been some, it might have been some redeeming qualities in there. It wasn't my favorite, but when I really think about it, it's not that bad. And then you go home and you like sleep, and then you realize like, yeah, no, it's dog shit actually. and that's what these E3 things are. Is a lot of people are on the Kool-Aid, and a lot of these people are bought and paid for. You got a ton of press there that get those pretty little media badges, and they feel fucking special. And they get treated, great. They get a new little keychain holder and a fucking, a couple cards that they can give away on their social media so they can get their numbers up. And, they're given an exclusive interview and you get to shake hands. They're not going to say anything bad about the game. And if there's stuff bad to be said, they're only going to talk about the good. They're going to just not discuss the bad. And that's why they have certain people allowed to play at these things. And then those people go and scream from the fucking hills that it's a transcending experience, so immersive. It's no different in the movie industry. You got everybody that are going to these pressers that are invited to go to these pressers. They know who the fuck these people are, and they invite certain people. They might have the odd, civilian in there to just be there so that it doesn't look too like set up. But even those guys are now on the Kool-Aid. So even if they don't really like it, they're getting treated like they're in the in crowd.
Let me pay you for your hotel, and you get like food, amazing restaurants, and and then you get the gift. You go into your 5-star hotel, and there's a massive gift basket with like a bunch of shit in it and everything.
100%.
Yeah,
100%, dude.
Yeah.
And they make it seem like, oh, we're just being nice and we're treating our guests well. They know what they're doing, man.
Yeah,
they know what they're doing. They're buttering you up, and that's exactly what they're doing. And so they're far less likely to go and make a review about how the game really truly is and then the public gets a misconstrued perception of the game coming from one lens. It's like doing a survey. You know, it's like, hey, on Family Feud, 100 people surveyed, you know, how many people really like StarCraft 2? And then you realize the 100 people that they surveyed, you know, 95% of them were like genuinely RTS players. So they're going to say like 95 out of 100. Oh, you've got it. But if they went and asked, you know, the general public, if they went to an E3 and grabbed 100 people, you might have 15 that even know what StarCraft is. So, like, they know what they're doing, man. So the odds of getting
it's
a demo
called sample bias.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And the odds of getting can you imagine if they blitzed out a Cyberpunk demo to the masses and the hype is so real and everybody fucking tries it before they buy it or pre-order it? Game over. It's game over.
I still want to know the numbers of how many people tried to make an attempt to return Cyberpunk 2077 on release.
A lot.
Because, man, that game wouldn't have sold dick. Anyone plays that game before buying it, like...
You want to know the only company I can ever see come out with demos? Nintendo.
Yeah.
That's it. Because you know what you're getting. And you get the same thing every time.
Rockstar would probably not be a bad choice either outside
the Nintendo Rockstar
sphere.
comes out with a game like once every fucking 7 years.
Yeah.
Right? And so their games are amazing most of the time. Almost all the time.
But shouldn't that just be the way fucking everything's just gotten so corporate. We've got to like hit so many fucking targets, and the publishers. The thing that is shitty about all these like devs getting bought up and whatnot, and like the scope issue that we've talked about in the past in this podcast, is that it just gets it produces more and more of this, a broken bullshit that sells like tens of millions of copies, and so to the people that made the decision to release the game. Not the developers themselves, but like the heads of publishers and the heads of the developers, the C-level guys, they're successful. They've made their money, so it doesn't matter anymore. And so it just results in shit. So, yeah, I mean, my God. Either way, I think Reggie's got the right idea, but at the same time, just like we just discussed there and all valid points, the moment people get hands-on with a lot of this shit, game over. Because so few of them are actually good games is the problem. So yeah, to some degree, I think that some of these companies are probably happy that they don't have to have a vertical slice of their game ready to be playable on the show floor in some building for E3. You know, now they just have to figure out how to fake it in a video.
Yep.
And that's all they need to worry about. Like that's much easier, but. Yeah, so his little bit there, will somebody else do it? Maybe that's not as likely, because I guess that means that, you know, at the end of the day, somebody else might provide the platform and say, hey, we should do this, but ultimately the game developers are the ones that have to say whether or not it's going to happen.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And everything right now is so, I mean, it's so ultra competitive that every piece of an announcement, a game being played, a date being announced, everything is so engineered and calculated that having some third party like E3 dictating schedules, when people can go where, you know, even just the look of the stream, like just everything, the cameras they use, the people they have on stage. You
know, it's ESA's like, E3 branding. It's
everything,
not,
right? Yes, it's and we're in an industry now where it's just like. This is a dead model. This is dead. This is going. So it is what it is. I'd rather just have the companies do their own thing, and then you would tune in when we want to watch it.